Hi, fabulous friends. Welcome to my second season of Sexy is Timeless Talk about my book, Sexy is Timeless. And this season is all about what men think is sexy because they have an opinion as well. My guest today is Steven Robinson. He's a relationship coach, author of Revolutionary Your Relationship and 7 fundamentals to a better connection with your spouse. Ay. Hi, how are you, darling?
I'm
Thank
doing
you.
amazing.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
Wow, a relationship coach.
Yes.
So, when I was reading about you, I was thinking, when does he become so wise? What happened to you? When did you get it so early in your life? Because trust me, a lot of men do not know anything about relationship. So please explain.
Okay, well, I'll make a long story short. Basically, I was in 2 long-term relationships, one for 8 years and one for 6 years.
Okay.
And the relationship that I was in for 8 years, the woman, she cheated on me with 13 different men.
Oh my
13
God.
different men.
Oh my
right?
God.
So, nonetheless, I found out and broke that relationship off. But because I
Yeah.
was lonely, I took her back, which
Of
is
course.
crazy, right?
Yes.
And she ended up doing it again. So I ended up finally breaking that relationship off. There's a little bit more to that, but we'll
Yeah.
talk about that later. And then the second relationship that I got into was 6 years, and she ended up leaving me for another man, ended up having a child and starting a family. And so you have to imagine that that's very, very devastating.
Wow.
So because that was so devastating, I told myself, I said, you know what, this is not going to happen to me again. And I started to really look at what I did wrong in the relationship because I could have blamed them and said,
Yes.
oh, they did this, but
Yeah. It was her fault.
right, but
She was a bad woman for me.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But because I thought to myself, because I didn't lie and because I didn't cheat, that made me a good man. But you have to understand that there's so much more that goes into being a good man than just not lying and cheating. So I started to do some research, and I was doing the research not to help anybody else. I was doing the research for myself.
To help yourself.
Right, and so as I was doing that, I started talking to friends and family members about relationships, and they said the same thing. They said, wow, you seem to know a lot about relationships because I was studying it
Yeah.
so intensely because I didn't want that to happen to me again. So that's how
Wow.
I got into relationship coaching.
And then what are those 7 fundamentals, very briefly? Or what is it? What
Okay.
did you learn in that study?
All right, so what you learn in the study is number one, you have to see the person for who they truly are, right? And you have to accept them as a human. So that's number one. And then effective communication. In order to really connect with your spouse, you have to effectively communicate because there's a saying that everybody communicates, but few people connect.
That's true.
Right? And so then the next part, you just have to really, have to spend quality time with that person. Because that was one of the things that I failed to do when I was in a relationship. I put my work first, and I didn't make her a priority. I made my work a priority.
Exactly.
So spending quality time is another one.
Yes.
And so the other things that is a priority is basically not lying. You want to be honest at all times, no matter what the situation calls for, because
Yes.
honesty, trust, if you have no trust in your relationship,
Of course, it's nothing.
it's nothing.
It's nothing. And also the listening part, that this is what we're going to be talking today at the chapter
Yes,
of
listening.
Sexy is Timeless, is listening. Because listening, gentlemen and ladies, is very sexy.
Yes.
Right? So how important is listening in the relationship?
Listening is very, very important because that is the way that you can effectively communicate. Because one of the things a lot of people say is, oh, I hear you. But think about it, right? We're on the set right now. I hear things outside,
Yes.
right? But I'm not really listening.
Paying attention.
Right.
You are not giving it feedback.
Right, exactly. So
Yes.
with you, because I'm talking to you, I'm actually
Yes.
listening to you. So listening requires you to be engaged, and it
Yes.
requires you to interpret what the other person is saying. And not all the time does it require a response, but if it does require a response, it's a thoughtful response because you listened to that person and you didn't just hear what they said.
Exactly. It's not like I have a bad day today, and he will respond, me too.
Right, right. So you would say if you told
Me
me
too.
you had a bad day,
It
I would
go-
ask you, what made your day so bad?
Exactly.
And then I would make sure that I have eye contact with you.
Yes.
And I would lean in to engage to let you know that I am listening to you.
And that you care.
Yes,
Because
correct.
at the moment, at this specific moment, maybe you just want a little love, a little
Yes.
kindness,
Correct.
a little, right?
Right.
And it's so simple, but sometimes men and women as well, they fail to do that.
Yes.
So, right?
Yes.
It's very interesting. So we talk about the difference. What is the best way to engage in conversation with your partner?
So the best way to engage in conversation with your partner, in my personal opinion, and when I was doing my studies from successful married couples that's been married for 25 years or more, so what they like to do is they like to isolate things. They don't want to have the technology around when they're talking. They want to.
You don't want to be in dinner and he or she be on the phone.
Right, exactly.
Like really.
So you want to give that person your undivided attention. So if you are going to engage in conversation with them, you want to remove all distractions.
Yes, that's so true. And what advice do you give men and women so they can have a really successful relationship?
Okay, so the advice I would give is, in a relationship, you want to create togetherness, right?
Yes.
And so if you're selfish, you will never create togetherness.
Yes.
Ever. So once you create togetherness, and once you learn how to effectively communicate, and once you're able to spend quality time and understand your spouse's needs, that's what makes a great relationship. And in order to do that, you have to listen.
Thank you. And when you say selfish, what do you mean?
Well,
Let's explain that.
yeah, so selfish, right? I will say, like, and I'm going to go back to an example of me,
Yeah.
right? Like, I was working so hard at my career that I was so selfish, and I was putting myself first, and I wasn't looking at the needs of my partner.
Yes.
And so being selfish is basically being all about yourself. Like, don't get me wrong, you do want to make sure that you maintain and you take care of yourself.
Of course.
But if you are in a relationship, if you're in a committed relationship, and especially if you're married, you want to make your spouse's needs a priority.
Yes. I totally believe that. Totally believe that. And I think the most important in a relationship is putting the other person's feelings first.
Yes.
It's not a mistake, right?
Not at all.
I think that's the essence.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So for all the married women, men out there, so when they're having problem in the relationship about listening, what do you really what do you advise to them? What 3 tips?
Okay.
3 tips to do.
3 tips. So if there's a problem in listening, I think you guys the couples should schedule time out throughout their week to say, hey, listen, we're going to put the phones away, and we're at least going to talk for 15 to 20 minutes. Tell me about your day. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to listen. How can I help you? Tell me about your goals. Tell me about your dreams. Tell me how I can help you and how we can develop such a more bond to move forward in the relationship. So that's number 1. Eliminate all distractions and make time.
Yes.
And number 2, what I would definitely say is be open to that. Because the thing is, we can say, oh, well, we're going to make time. But if your mind is closed off to doing that, it's not going to work.
Exactly. And number 3?
And number 3, what I would say is, that's a good one. I would say basically just try some new things. Like you don't always have to be in the living room. Go to the park. Central Park is a really nice place. You guys can walk and you guys can and take in all the flowers, the weather, and talk and do something that you don't normally do.
I totally agree because it's extremely important the time that you give to each other.
Yes.
It's extremely important. And also you were mentioning off camera as well that relationship is not about 50%.
Right.
It is about 100 and 100.
Correct.
So if the one person is giving 100, the other person has to give 100.
Yes.
And that means in every aspect of the relationship.
Correct. Every aspect. Because the thing is, a lot of people say, oh, well, a relationship is 50-50, right? So what that means, what they're saying is, oh, I'm only going to do something because you did. right? No,
Yeah,
you
that doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Like tip
Not at
tap.
all.
I'm doing this for you because you did it for me.
Exactly.
That doesn't work.
Exactly.
I cannot give you more because you didn't give me more.
Right.
That doesn't work. That
Right.
means it's selfish, and one
Exactly.
point this relationship is going to break
Exactly.
because there is no love in it. It's selfishness.
And I like the way you explained that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's selfishness, because if you're only doing something because they did 50%, no.
Yes.
You come into this relationship, especially if you get into a committed relationship,
Yes.
what the word commitment means is, hey, listen, I'm all in. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 100%, and if that person is coming into a committed relationship, they give 100% as well.
Exactly. And it's extremely important. Thank you, darling, for being here. And it's extremely important, gentlemen and lady, give oxygen. When you communicate with your partner, when you listen to your partner, you have no idea the oxygen that you give to them. Stay sexy and timeless. Besitos. If you just tuning, I am here with Steven Robinson, and he is a relationship coach, and we are learning so much about relationships. This is so interesting. I want to know everything. I am married, and I'm getting some tips here, so I hope that you can take some notes. So, darling, so yes, it is relationship is as complicated. Why is relationship is so complicated?
So, which is actually funny that you said that, because I'm actually working on a video right now that talks about relationship elementary.
Okay.
Because there's basic things that you need to do. And if you guys understand what the word elementary means, that
yes,
means
elementary school when we are little.
Right,
kindergarten.
It's basic. It's basic fundamentals
Yeah.
that make a relationship work, right? And so the thing is, we overcomplicate relationships all the time for whatever reason, but it's just, there's a couple of things that make a relationship work, right? And just tell me if you agree, right?
Yes, well, of course.
Quality time.
Perfect. Yes. Must. Must.
Trust.
Of course.
Effective communication. Like I said, people communicate, but effective.
Effective communication. And when you talk about effective communication, is hearing, listening the other person, giving oxygen to the other person, not just you are talking to someone and the person is not there. That is not.
Right.
Because you feel, how do you feel with talking to someone that there is nothing in it? You feel alone, right?
Right, you feel alone. You feel like
Yes.
that person doesn't value you.
Yes.
You feel like that person doesn't respect your time.
Exactly. Or not only your time. You feel like the person doesn't care about what you're going through.
Exactly.
Yes. Very important. Do we have a question, darling?
Yes, we do have a question. Our first question is, how can I make sure that I stay engaged and am actively listening to my spouse?
Oh,
Well, that's a very good question.
yes.
So, well, first off, you have to, like I said before, have an open mind. When you are talking to your spouse, you have to open your mind up to be able to receive that. And then once you're doing that, you want to maintain eye contact with your spouse. And I'm just speaking from a corporate setting that I've brought into relationships, where when somebody's talking, a lot of times in a round table, right, they lean in.
Yes.
Right? They lean in to let that person know that they're engaged. And what that does is, it's like a psychological thing
Of course.
that says, hey, look, you know, I'm engaged. I'm listening to what you have to say.
Exactly. Or as your spouse, touch her.
Right, yes,
It's a touch.
yes, touch,
It's
yes.
a loving.
Yes,
right?
touch is very important.
Yeah. Don't leave the room. Don't be on the phone.
Right.
That's very rude.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, don't be on the phone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like, honey, I have something to talk to you. And they start talking, and the person leave.
Right.
Or they start talking on the phone.
Oh, yes.
How rude is that?
Very rude.
Exactly. So, thank you, darling. I totally agree with you. Do we have another question?
Yes, we have another question. This question is, I feel like the spark in my relationship has dimmed because of poor communication. What can I do to try and get this spark back? Because I really love my spouse.
Oh,
Well-
listen to her.
Yes, definitely listen. But one of the things is, like we talked about, and this whole segment is about listening, right?
Yes.
So if you listen to your partner, right, they will tell you what they like.
Yeah.
And so in that particular instance, what I would do
Yeah.
is, like, let's just say I'm listening to you, right? And you're telling me, oh, I like, you know, flowers or something like that. Well, you can go to a botanical garden or things like that to make sure that you are keeping the spark alive.
Yes.
Do something different. Don't be mundane with your routine.
Yes.
Continue to do things different, and the way you're going to do things different is by listening to your partner, because your partner will always tell you what they like.
I always, and I say in my book, if you really pay attention to someone, they are really telling you who they are. And not only in relationship, in business,
Yes.
in friendship, in the love relationship.
Correct.
If we just listen,
Correct.
we know what the other person is telling us or is screaming at us. But sometimes our pride, our ego
Yes.
doesn't allow us to see that,
Right.
right?
Correct.
So, do we have another question?
Yeah, so our next question is, I feel like my boyfriend is a really good listener, but he doesn't really talk much and tell me about his day, etc. So what can I do about this?
Okay, so I mean that's a very simple answer. Are you asking your boyfriend open-ended questions to make sure that he has a response, and not just yes or no questions?
Yeah.
Open-ended questions, about their day. So if you could do that, that would probably get your boyfriend to open up a little bit more. And if it doesn't get him to open up a little bit more, try to dig a little deeper to find out why he doesn't like to talk.
Exactly. Why he doesn't want to talk. But I think it's maybe if he doesn't want to talk, what are you doing? What are you doing? Maybe he's feeling that
Right.
you are not really paying attention to when he is speaking to you.
Right.
Because who really wants to open up to someone who doesn't
Right.
want to give you the respect and the consideration for your feelings?
And you said that in your book. I remember reading
Yes,
that. You're
right?
absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah. So who wants to do that? So I think that listening is such it shows respect to your partner, it shows respect to your friend. Is listening, it shows kindness,
Yes.
it shows respect, it shows I care.
I care, yes.
Yes, it's unbelievable, but it does show all those things.
Correct.
But sometimes in the relationship we take it for granted,
Yes.
and we shouldn't. And that is number one. That sometimes end the relationship because you feel no value.
Right.
And the moment that a woman or a man doesn't feel valuable, what happened? You go and start paying attention to someone that really.
Yes, that values you, yes.
Unfortunately, it works that way, and it worked for both of us.
Yes.
It worked for both of us. So it is so interesting. Do we have another question or right now?
Not
So
right now.
it is so interesting because relationship is so complicated, right? So what advice do you have for the millennials right now who are in a relationship, or for even anybody who have been already in a relationship, want to better the relationship, or the newcomers in the relationship?
Okay, so one of the things that I have been seeing a lot is that technology is playing a big part.
Yes.
That's stagnating human connect, Facebook, Instagram, and all these other social media things. But there's countless times when I go to restaurants, and I'll go by myself,
Yes.
and I will see a couple there, and both of them are on their phones.
Horrible, right?
Horrible.
Yeah.
So the thing that I say is, like I said before, put down the distractions.
Yes.
Spend time with each other. Spend quality time with each
Yes.
other.
Look at the two partners in the eyes and have a romantic dinner.
Yes.
Now it's coming Valentine. This is a perfect time to show how much you care for your loved one.
Right.
No phone,
No
right?
phone.
No phone.
No computers.
No computers.
Nothing. Just
Just your partner.
just you and your partner.
Just you and your partner. And do those little things that make the other person happy.
Right.
Like you were talking about, she liked the botanical garden.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Pay attention.
Pay attention. Maybe, okay, she says she likes flower. Surprise her with flower.
Exactly.
Or take her to the botanical garden.
Correct.
Or whatever it is. Just romance never gets old, right?
It never gets old. So let me just tell you something very quick.
Yes.
There's a friend, and I talked to him about listening, and he started listening to his partner, and his partner said that she liked chocolate chip cookies. And you know what he did? She was at work. She took his car to work. He had an extra key. So
Yeah.
he drove up to work, opened the car door, put a chocolate chip cookie in her car, didn't
May
tell her
have
that
been.
he was there,
May have been.
and left. And she was so ecstatic.
Of course, those little things. And I know we women love the big thing. We want the house, we want the best life and all the trip and all this. But also, those little things, it talk so loud as well.
Yes.
Just a chocolate cookie,
Yes,
okay?
exactly.
Because it say he listened to me.
Yes.
He cares.
Right.
He loved me.
Yes.
That 50 cents, it says so much.
So much,
So
correct.
much. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Any advice or the tips for all the ladies and gentlemen who are watching us today?
Yes, do not make your relationship mundane. Try to do new things, and it does not take or it does not require a lot of money to do new things.
Exactly. Thank you, darling, for
You're
being
welcome.
here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So here you are. Remember, listening is very, very sexy. So stay sexy and timeless. Besitos.